The demise of the F-Type SVR means the F-Pace is now the only Jaguar available made by Jaguar Land Rover's Special Vehicle Operations Division. Yes, SVR comes from SVO. Of course. As in the lower version of the F-Pace, the changes are relatively simple, but they all combine to sharpen the SVR's case against its elite rival. However, before discussing the differences, we should first celebrate the SVR's least changed feature and the star of the show's ongoing supercharged V8. This is the 5.0-liter unit that JLR introduced in 2009, a development of the Ford-engineered AJ V8 that debuted in 1996. Given the Ford factory in Wales that built it closed last year, expected the engine to die as well, but JLR has instead opted to move production in-house to keep the venerable engine running for a few more years. It was recently confirmed that it will be installed into the Defender, but this appears to be the last time it appears in the new Jaguar. While the SVR's 550 horsepower output remains unchanged, it has been given a slight increase in peak torque to 516 pound-feet up from the 502. The standard 8-speed automatic transmission also gets updated software, which helps the revised SVR cut its claimed 0.3-second off time. The 2020 model 0 to 60 miles per hour, lowering that figure to about 3.8 seconds, despite a 140-pound gain by Jag's own size. Somewhat ridiculous, that still doesn't put it at the sharp end of this ultra-fast segment, where faster rivals are closer by 3 seconds than 4. Jaguar also excels in charisma, the supercharged V8 combining powerful performance with a soundtrack that surpasses most 6-cylinder competition in musicality and delivers a snappy 8-cylinder top end without digital augmentation. The SVR cab even functions without active noise cancellation to maintain an unfiltered aural experience. The new SVR has missed the boom and burst of firecrackers that pre-facelift versions would give when the throttle is lifted suddenly under load, and it always defaults to starting in 2 quieter exhaust modes, which should help improve relations with neighbors. A changing gearbox shifts gears very quickly, under the direction of the very heavy steering wheel paddles, and shifts gears unobtrusively and intelligently in drive. The Sport Mode transmission feels more aggressive than ever, shifting down and holding low gear with minimal provocation and resulting in sudden step-offs as they leave the lane. Unfortunately, Jaguar's new miniature gear selector has no physically defined option, returning to center position after driving or reverse is selected and thus denying any sense of which gear if one is activated. Underneath the surface, the SVO engineering team provided a complete makeover to SVR. We were told that every control module in the car is new, and every dynamic setting has been revised. But these tweaks do nothing to change the underlying appeal of the car's laid-back athleticism. The SVR feels more appropriate than the normal segment, especially on rough UK roads. Many fast SUVs try to emulate the behavior of lower performance, leaner cars with tighter settings, but the F-Pace uses its suspension smarter to fill and absorb bumps, while resisting rolls and throws very well. The development team says special attention was paid to improving the SVR's ride over high-frequency bumps, although at lower speeds and over large amplitude undulations the ride feels solid. Floor, 22-inch forged aluminum wheels don't support much of the tire sidewall. Riding on Pirelli P0 summer tires, the SVR delivers impressive grip and a level of steering for 2021. The all-wheel drive system's torque distribution remains rear-biased in all but ice and snow mode, which defaults to a 50-50 split. In its most aggressive dynamic mode, the SVR is essentially a rear wheel, with torque only shifting forward when the rear tire runs out of traction. Driven hard, the SVR feels good but never strays, with an electronically controlled differential at the rear that sharpens response and optimizes traction. It is also now possible to adjust many settings in dynamic mode, which is represented by a racing helmet on the touchscreen. Drivers can choose between comfort or dynamic settings for engine, steering, setup and transmission maps, while maintaining rear-bias torque sharing. An innovation that is less welcome is the presence of electric-powered brakes. Have no complaints with the massive stopping power produced by the 6-pot front calipers, but the new system suffers from pedal movement and feels more difficult to modulate at lower speeds even though we've mostly adjusted after 3 hours in the car.